Yeah.
So we're joined from Southaven, Mississippi, by the owner of Giselle Audrey Couture, my friend Dana Christian, native of Pearl, Mississippi, but now in the Memphis area. We thank you so much for joining us. We're in the manufacturing career cluster. So it's cool that you're in manufacturing and an entrepreneur. I've got a room full here with me at Velma Jackson High School. We're recording this for all of our friends in Madison County Schools, Madison Central High School, Rosa Scott, Ridgeland High School, Germantown High School, the Academic Options Center, and our YouTube channel. So, as always, we thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us today.
Of course. Anytime.
Yeah, yeah, rocking the natural hair too. We love it. So,
Yep.
before we get into what it is you do, because you have some unbelievable dresses you make, and we'll obviously get to, we'll make sure everybody gets your information for prom season. You're from Pearl.
Okay.
So just tell us a
Yes.
little bit about your background and how you got into making clothes, because I think a lot of kids don't realize making clothes is a big part of manufacturing. We think
It
manufacturing,
definitely is.
we just think Nissan factory, but everything we
Right.
wear has to be made by somebody.
Right. So just a brief background about myself. Like Greg said, I'm from Pearl. I've always really just been into fashion. I started off more in front of the camera versus behind the camera or behind the sewing machine. So I started off doing a lot of pageants, modeling up until I went to Mississippi State. Once I got to Mississippi State, I was supposed to go into photography. And I took a few classes and I just realized it really wasn't for me until I really just got into it. I didn't know until I just actually took classes. So I was introduced to the fashion design program by a friend that I'm still really close to that designs as well in Atlanta. And I just, she told me just, you can take the beginner sewing class. I didn't know how to sew at all until I was 19. That's when I took that first class. I had a machine, but I didn't know the first thing about threading a machine or anything. So once I took that class, it was just like, okay, this is more me. And just from there, 17 years later, I'm
Wow.
still doing what I love. So it definitely is, it's a passion for me. I've learned, like, I'm always learning. So I've never stopped learning. Once I graduated Mississippi State, I was still learning on my own, like how to perfect my craft. The business side, it's a lot that goes into being an entrepreneur besides the actual, part that you have an emphasis in.
Yeah, and we'll definitely get to that business side, but I don't think most people, especially kids, realize, all the clothes that they have on right now at one point was just a piece of fabric. I know we have the
Just a
Levi's
piece
plant
of
here.
material.
Yeah, yeah, I know we have the Levi's plant here in Canton, but and they're making
Right.
those products, but they're literally just, they have denim and they take it through a process. Now you are more,
Right.
more personalized and more specialized, and you make custom designs. But talk a little bit about that process, because you start off with rolls of fabric and it turns into these beautiful designs and dresses.
Right. So just the, like, in general, any of my clients that come for custom, we'll start with the initial meeting of just having our first consultation, which during the consultation we sit down for about 45 minutes and talk about what design we want, details, event dates, and we'll go over sketches, like, just sketch it out. If it's something that they don't already have, like on the picture, sometimes they'll come in with inspiration and we'll just use that. But it starts out with the sketch, it starts out with just words, then it goes to the actual pattern making process, which that's a whole nother step. After that, then we go into I have a couple of assistants that help with pattern making and cutting. So we move from pattern making to cutting the actual material to actually sewing at the end. From there, go into our fitting appointments and just, see the final product.
Yeah, and when it comes to somebody getting into clothes making, even if they don't want to be an entrepreneur, I mean, everybody doesn't want to,
Mhm.
but obviously companies like yourself, there's large companies that are hiring seamstresses. I don't think, even furniture places hire seamstresses because of
Oh
the
yeah.
sewing up material on furniture. So would that be something that somebody would necessarily need to go to college for, or is that something they can learn on
No.
their own? So to talk about the skills that are needed, because we have kids that say, I don't want to go to college, but I want to have a good job. Being a
Yeah.
seamstress can make a lot of money.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So like even for example, I worked with Davis Bridal for a while, for some years, and I started off, that was really my first job within my field, my first actual corporate job. Just I was really just a seamstress, just a alteration specialist, and I didn't know the first thing about using an industrial machine. They're just a faster, more like heavy duty machine. When I went to the interview, I didn't know I had to do a sew test on an industrial machine, and I didn't know how to do
Oh,
it. So I just looked at a few videos and just took what I knew and did it that way. You don't have to have a degree as an alteration specialist at Davis Bridal. I know for sure. And there's a lot of other companies that don't require it. I like currently I hired a high schooler. Well, she's 16 or 17. She started with me last year during prom season. She doesn't know how to sew. She started off as a cutter, basically prep. She just does prep work. And now this year we're going into teaching her how to sew. So I don't require a degree. It's just, different companies require different things. But I
yeah,
definitely
because
believe in teaching if the ambition is there.
yeah, and because and we're going to get into more of the business side, but I think that's important. But when it comes to being a seamstress, that's not something everybody can do. When it comes to manufacturing, things
Right.
have to be made. Companies want to make things that are high quality. If they're going to charge so much for it, they're going to have to make a quality product. They want people that can make the
Right.
quality product. So that's a
Exactly.
very good skill to learn. So that's really cool. So obviously you worked at Davis Bridal. You learned the business before you opened Giselle Audrey, which is
Right.
and we'll definitely get everybody the information for that with the for prom dresses. But I hear so many kids tell me they want to be entrepreneurs. Now, even if they don't want to make clothes, they want to do some type of business, and it
Yeah.
is popular. You see it on Instagram. They're taking the pictures. This is my business, whatever. And I know I talked about this last time, and people get sick of me saying this, but I just think this has to be said. I'm a huge fan of Jasmine Sullivan. I love her music,
Yeah.
but she has the song. She has the song where she talks about, I'm just going to move to Atlanta, start a business, and be rich. And it doesn't work like that.
It doesn't.
It's possible, but when you're the entrepreneur, yeah, you're your own boss, but everything begins and ends with you. And then, like you
Right.
said, you learned the business first. You didn't just open a shop. You worked at Davis Bridal, and you kind of eased away from. I know you still do
Yep.
some stuff on a part-time basis, but you kind of eased away from them. You didn't just jump in head first. You learned the business side of it, because so many entrepreneurs, they may be smart, they may be a good designer. We have another guest that's a doctor who became an entrepreneur, and she even said herself, I knew how to take care of patients. I didn't know how to run a business. You may be able to
Right.
make great
Yep.
dresses, but if you don't know how to run a business, you're not going to be profitable. So
Right.
just talking
Not at
about the
all.
learning curve, the learning curve that I think people don't understand. They see the glamorous social media side of it, but the behind the scenes part is what really makes and break a great entrepreneur.
Right. Definitely. Definitely. And they even like with my degree, we were even required to have a minor in general business administration. So they wanted to make sure we knew this side as well, because it's important. It's very important.
Yeah, because and then and another thing, and I always mention this with entrepreneurs, is that we've had a lot of kids from Velma Jackson start their own businesses, and even as
Yeah.
we have one that's a nursing school that has a braiding business. She does it on the side, but she's still an entrepreneur. We've had other ones sell
Yeah.
jewelry, and we just had one open her own lash studio on County Line. So we have some entrepreneurs,
That's
but
good.
I always like to look and see. And obviously, I don't know anything about lashes or braiding hair, but I can look and see, a lot of young entrepreneurs, no matter what they open. We had a young man who has a trucking company now. So he does
Oh
towing and
wow.
things like that. But one thing I always notice, and I always look at this, you can't have that mindset of an 18, 17, 16-year-old when it comes to setting up your business, because
Right.
I always, and more times than not, I say, you're not charging enough. You
Nope. And
can't
that's
try to
what
be
I
the
always
cheapest.
think too. Yep.
Yeah. And because if you can offer a quality product, people will pay for something that's actually really nice. People
Right.
will pay for at Giselle Audrey, they'll pay more for that personalized touch, the great customer service, and a great product. because you do that, that
Right.
gives you the opportunity to charge more.
Right. Yep. Absolutely.
And then any type of manufacturing, the end goal has to be the customer, because
Yes.
I just cringe. I cringe when I hear kids say, "Well, I'm just going to go work at Nissan." I'm like, Nissan is selling
Yeah.
those cars for $45,000. They're not just going to hire
Yeah.
anybody, knock on the door and come work there. And I know you're not a heavy industrial type of manufacturing, but you're selling those dresses for a lot of money. You want somebody that can actually learn it and make these things with great care and great skill. And that's in any
Right.
type of manufacturing.
Right. Right. Exactly.
Um, now, and I'm about to get to the students' questions, but I just really wanted to hit on, talk about, you do pop-up shops all over the country. You come to Jackson, you've gone to Houston, Dallas, Memphis. So, because you hear, you always go to these things you see, and you hear people say, "Oh, I want to do a pop-up shop," and yeah,
Right.
and they are extremely effective. But talk about kind of
Yes.
that marketing strategy and doing that, because you obviously plan where you go, you plan what's going on, and how to reach your customer base.
Right. So this year, because I do custom, as far as like, it's pretty much the same as doing a pop-up shop, but with me doing custom, I don't keep a lot of products on hand. So with my, this is my second year doing the prom tour. Basically it's just made to be able, to give that convenience of going to other cities, like to the ones that aren't able to travel to me. So I get a lot of traffic that way, because they, that's like the perfect opportunity. They really want me to design something for them, and they want the measurements to be right. They want to actually sit down and get the experience from me. So it helps to be able to travel to these different cities, and each year I go to at least one big city. So last year I went to Chicago, and
Wow.
then I went to like different cities within the state. So the same thing for this year. Went to like I just went to Jackson last Sunday. So I met with a lot of girls and guys out there. Even the guys, they come and get alterations. So I met with them out there, and the big city this year is Nashville. So next weekend, I'll be in Nashville, and
That's
it's
awesome.
exciting just because like I'm able to really just get the exposure, get my name out there. And like with the big cities, the way that I market is just going to just speaking with different schools in that area, because they know, like, I don't know a lot of people in Nashville, but the schools do, and they know that girls and guys are looking for things for prom.
Absolutely. Well, I got some questions from the students, and these are really good. So I'm gonna get to as many of these as I can. I'm glad to hear stuff.
Always, it's
Um,
always really good.
yeah, and these are solid. These are all ninth graders. This is Alonzo Green. He's
Okay.
one of the members of our band here. And he asked, what type of
Okay.
safety measures do you use on your equipment when you in the past and now?
You said what type of safety measures
Do you
for
use on
my
the
equipment?
equipment that you've used in the past, and what safety measures do you use now?
Well, it's like it's a lot of different like small things that we use as far as like a seamstress to make sure that we don't damage anything with for one, I don't allow a lot of kids in my studio, just because like I have a lot of heavy equipment, a lot of sharp objects, pens, razor blades that aren't really necessarily sitting out for them to be able to grab, but you just never know. So it's just like little things like thimbles to keep from sticking my finger when I hand sew. There's certain guards on my sewing machines that I have to watch for, that I use to, keep from I've actually sewed my finger before, but it was like while I was working for another company, and they just didn't have the proper safety equipment. So I try to make sure that everything is really just put away, because it's so many little things that could just accidentally fall like off the table, or
Mhm.
anything accidentally picked up. So I just make sure, like, after I work, I secure or clean the workstation that I've used, and that's pretty much it as far as safety.
Yeah, and manufacturing anything, safety is such a big deal in any type of manufacturing setting, whether it be a studio, a factory, or
Hmm.
whatever. So I think that's great that he's thinking about that because it is a very big deal.
Right.
Uh, I love this
It
question. This is
is.
Renee.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is Renee Harris. She's a member of our volleyball team and our JROTC here at Velma Jackson. And she asked, "What's the favorite dress you have ever made?"
Ooh, that's hard. That's a hard one. Let me think. Well, I would say probably I have a lot of like the prom that's coming this year. They're probably gonna be some of my favorite. But as far as in the past, it had to be it's really two. One is my bridal client last year in July. She came to me because she knew like I love color and she wanted color in her wedding dress. So her wedding dress was yellow. It was, expensive, high quality, and it was like, everything that I looked for when I first started designing, like everything that I wanted to do, which is formal wear, beading. It was just everything. My second favorite would probably be the dress that I made for Deion Sanders' daughter, a couple of years ago. It was just like it just brought out like another service or skill that I didn't, you know, when I designed her dress, I had maybe like a couple of days to design it just because like we couldn't come up with she didn't really know like which direction she wanted to go with the dress. So I really didn't have much time. But like working with celebrities, like I realized you have to be able to work quick because they most of the time is like a last minute decision. So I would say those two were probably the best ones and the most, creative and fun dresses that I
Absolutely.
made.
I love this question. This is Michaela Job, and she asked, "How nervous were you when you first started out as an entrepreneur?"
Oh, very nervous because it took me a while to even like I just made 1 year in my studio just because I was scared to take that leap of faith. So I've been designing for over 17 years, but it just took me so long. Like I knew I could do it. I could jump out there and I needed to have my own space. I had started off with a studio in my home. I had a specific room just for designing. And I was like, no, like my clientele is steady coming, steady rising. So I have to just go ahead and do it. And it's like once I did it, it may seem scary, but at the same time, now like you have to push a lot harder just to maintain that studio, maintain your business because that's what you have. And like it goes back to me leaving my job at Davis Bridal to becoming now a full-time designer. Like that's all that I do. And I was like, this is all that I have to depend on. So I have to keep it going.
Yeah, and that's the thing, about entrepreneurs. Yeah, you can take a day off, but you're gonna have to make up for it later. So,
Oh
everybody's a
yeah.
chance to say, I want to be in charge. That's great, but there's a lot of work involved. So I think that's a
Right.
great. All right, I love this question. This is Jernylan Fleming, also a member of our band, and she asked, "What's the
Okay.
favorite thing? What is your favorite thing about designing clothes?"
Just being able to really just tap into that creative side. I especially prom. I mean, I love designing everything else, but just when they come in with these ideas, they pretty much they've already researched and looked up like different inspirations. And it's like once we sit down, I can just feel and see the excitement when they're actually, when we're in the same room or even like through a Zoom consultation. It's just knowing that you're bringing like all of your that customer service. That's where customer service goes into play, and you're really just bringing that excitement out. You're bringing their like thoughts and ideas to life, and just seeing like the whole process, just seeing it from sketch to an actual product is the best part about it.
Yeah, the tangible results got to be really cool. I think that's awesome in any type of manufacturing. So, I've actually had somebody before that had a part in manufacturing helicopters, and they were like, "Man, it's really cool to see that thing flying," and I had a hand in that. This has got to be the same way with a dress. You know,
Yeah.
they look great in that, and I had and I made it. So the tangible results to
Right.
me is really got to be really rewarding. I've got three more. This is Tadavian Smith, also a member of our band, and he asked, "What type of startup costs did you have to start your business, and how did you fund it?"
Oh, it was like startup cost. It was when I first started, I was still like I said, just working out of my home office, or even before we had me and my family, even before we had a separate room, I was in the dining room. So I didn't have I didn't have a lot of different, things to pay for as far as expenses. Startup costs, I would say the main thing was just sewing machine, thread, like just to practice with. But it really, once I started, because I do custom, I'm not really having to put anything like come out of pocket for much, because it's a service.
Yeah.
So whatever profit I had, I was just investing back into my brand by like purchasing more machines. I have 4 sewing machines now, so it's just like over time I started investing and, putting it towards things that would help me grow as an entrepreneur, like with my brand.
Yeah, and I think
So it
that's a
wasn't
good
much
point.
to answer the question.
Yeah, but that's a good point too, because you have to look at, you don't want to skimp cost. You have to look at it as an
Right,
investment. You don't want to buy cheap material. You don't want to buy cheap equipment, and then it affects your
right,
product, especially starting out. You don't want that bad reputation. So I think that's a great point.
right.
All right, I just got two more. I got two more. Both of these are really good. This is Ashton Job, and he asked, "How long does it usually take for you to make a custom design?"
Depending on what the design is for prom, like it, because we're in such a time crunch, I start advertising in September. I'll get like
Wow.
maybe 3 or 4 that want to come early, start early before the rush gets here. But the peak of it is around now. Like, so most of the time it'll take me, or like my personal goal is like at least 2 a day. So 2 full dresses a day, because I have 2 assistants that,
Wow,
help me
that's still
with
impressive.
hand. Yeah. So it like we have to move quick. That's the only reason why I hire, I have a seamstress and, the high schooler that I'm teaching how to sew now. So it's a lot of like teamwork and just moving fast. I've already, and
Wow.
it comes back, like what helps me move faster is just like having everything organized, and prepped already to just go whenever they come in or whenever I come in to work.
Wow, I had no idea. That's incredible. Wow. I just got one more, and I love this question too. And I hate she just went to the bathroom, but this is her question. This is Alayla Jones, member of our volleyball
Oh,
team
okay.
and our band. So hopefully she'll get to hear the answer. She asked, "I really want to be an entrepreneur. So can you tell me what the best practice would be if I wanted to be a successful entrepreneur after high school?"
So the best practice for me would be you can like, for me, I'm more of a hands-on person. So I really just like shadowed like different people, or just reached out to the ones that I knew was like that were like successful, or even the ones starting off. Like you want to know, you just want someone that's already in that atmosphere, in that field, and just see from different points of view, like what do I need to do to become one. And it, like, I mean, I will say in high school, we did have Votech at Pearl. So I took an entrepreneurship class. But afterwards, like after I learned what I needed to learn, it was just like I took the business administration class, which is not a necessity. Like I said, it's just finding someone that's already an entrepreneur. And I'm pretty sure like they wouldn't mind just giving, advice on becoming one.
Absolutely. Well, we're almost out of time, and we thank you so much for fitting us in your tight schedule. But a couple things before we
Yeah.
go. First of all, tell everybody where they can find you on Instagram and on your website, because you're making some great dresses for anybody with a weddings, proms, events coming up.
Yeah, so you can just find my Instagram. It's DC underscore the Taylor, TheTailor. You can find me there on Facebook as well, Giselle Audrey Couture. If you need to reach out, you can reach out either way, either social media. and I'll be glad to answer any questions. I love, speaking with young mind, like business minded individuals. So if you ever have any questions, feel free to reach out, and I don't mind.
Yeah, and we had some last year that reached out to you that were interested in the fashion industry. So I
Yeah.
thought that was so. Yeah, again, you have some of your designs on there, just really, really amazing designs you're making. And
Thank
I mean,
you.
obviously I don't wear dresses, but I do think there's definitely for anybody with any prom, wedding, or events coming up, definitely check out
Yep.
Instagram and our website. Really cool thing to get with you about doing it. So, but the last thing before we go, these kids are maybe thinking I'm kind of on the fence about being an entrepreneur, or I'm interested in getting into the clothes manufacturing. People are going to wear clothes forever, so people are always going to need them, so they're always
Right.
going to have to be. So why should they consider getting into this field if they're kind of undecided?
It's going to come down to the passion. As an entrepreneur, it's all going to come down to the passion. But for me, it was more of like that freedom, that work-life balance. I'm big on family. So like I just wanted that work-life balance and to be able to control, if it's something that I'm passionate about. I always felt like, if I'm working for this company and I'm doing the same thing, so I know like I have the skills to be able to do it on my own. So like I said, if you want that freedom, if you have that passion, you want to service people, like just, offer that service. Like just people are waiting to see the skills that you have. Like don't hide it, don't be intimidated. Like you just have to kind of jump out there sometimes, and it will take that leap of faith, but at the same time be prepared mentally.
Yeah, and even if you don't want to be an entrepreneur, places like David's Bridal, places like that are
Yeah.
really looking. They're always going to be
Yep.
hiring people that can be skilled at it. You don't have to have the financial and mental stress of having the risk of
Not at
entrepreneur,
all.
because it's not for everybody. I mean, I'll be the
Not for
first to tell you
everyone.
that, but these companies are going to need people to make these clothes. So I think that's a great point. So again, we thank you so much for joining us. I know you're on a time crunch, and I appreciate you fitting us in. Dana Christian, Giselle Audrey Couture there in Southaven, Mississippi, in the Memphis area, and hit her up for any of your prom wedding event needs. We thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Greg. Thank y'all.
I talk to you soon, buddy.